we deal with the £22 billion black hole that we were left by the government. This was not on the
언제 나야?
We audited the books of about £22 billion that now need to be found this year. I could pretend it's not there.
언제
I could
나야?
broadcast
먼저
it.
매 그거.
In my view, that would risk losing control
그거?
of the economy. By
언제 나야?
we could commit to, amongst other things, the triple lock, and that means for pensioners, I can be really clear with you that because we're committed to the triple lock, because we're taking these difficult decisions, that in addition to the £900 extra that they receive this year on the state pension, will be another 460 next year, and so on and so forth. Which is why I was able to say on the conference stage, as I did, that pensioners, every pensioner, will be better off under a Labour government.
But they're all going to get £300 less than they were expecting to get.
I mean,
You talked about a shared...
those are pension
Ronald, so forgive me, you talked about a shared struggle, but when I'm saying
뭐
this is a
전문가도
trade-off,
선수
and I'm saying
블랙을
you
했으니까.
chose pensioners to make this sacrifice, you seem reluctant to admit that you singled them out to make that sacrifice. You did.
They're difficult choices, Nick. £22 billion is a huge amount
뭐,
of money.
뭐,
We've
그거?
had to make other difficult choices to get to that £22 billion that we've got to find. But I've also got to say
그거.
the fact that the NHS is on its knees. Pensioners rely on the NHS. Taking more money out of the NHS isn't going to help to get it back on its feet. I've got to recognise that public services are desperately relied on by pensioners. They are broken and on their knees, and I don't think we can take more money out of them. We've got to recognise that buses are important for pensioners now, and we've got to fix that problem as well.
Part of the reason this is controversial, I wonder if you recognise this,
오사체
is
뭐냐?
that as pretty poor pensioners are being asked to lose money, they think politicians are getting freebies. They think you're getting free clothes and free glasses and free tickets,
몇당
free holidays, free stays in the flat, and they think, well, we're being asked to sacrifice things,
Can I just
and
do,
politicians are not.
let me deal with this, because I understand why you're asking questions. I understand why other people are asking questions, so I'll deal with all three things you put to me as quickly as I possibly can. Firstly, on clothing, in a busy election campaign as we've had this year, where I'm across the country pretty well all the time, we have lots of people coming forward saying, I can help. And some people came forward and said, I can help by donating to get you clothes, so you don't have to worry about that and get on with it.
But there's a principle there, isn't it?
Let me just
Forgive me, the principle that people are talking about is buy your own stuff.
hear me out. Look, that was in opposition when running around. I won't be making declarations in relation to clothing again. Understood. In relation to the second example you put to me, football. I bought season tickets in the stand at Arsenal. I've had for a long time, and I go with my boy who's 16. As a result of security, I can't go in the stand anymore. So Arsenal Football Club have said, be our guest in the director stops if and when you can get to a match. That actually is a ticket you can't buy. People say, well, why don't you pay for it? You can't buy a ticket in a fixtures box. But it means I can continue to do something which is really special to me, which is to go to football with my boy. The third example you gave me was accommodation. Let me just tell you what that was for. That was because at the beginning of the election, which we didn't know when it was going to be called, my boy, 16, was in the middle of his GCSEs. I made him a promise that he would be able to get to his school, do his exams without being disturbed. We have lots of journalists outside our house where we live. I'm not complaining about that, that's fine. But if you're a 16-year-old trying to do your GCSEs and you've got one chance in life, I promised him we would move someone, we'd get out of that house and go somewhere where he could be peacefully studying. Somebody then offered me accommodation where we could do that, and I took it up, and it was the right thing to do for my boy. It didn't cost the taxpayer a penny.
That's somebody who's like that.
Yes, of course, but my primary concern wasn't about influencing government. It was making sure that my boy could do his GCSEs without having to wade through loads of journalists outside the house, which may not trouble you and me, but for my 13-year-old girl, and my 16-year-old boy, does make life more difficult. I'm not playing about journalists.
Until Sunday, I want to ask you about a principle, though. Is it time to say politicians can pay for their own stuff? And is it time to say to Lord Allen, who's a long-time supporter of the Labour Party, and is no doubt doing it for all the right and best reasons, thanks for everything you've given us, but enough. We can't do that anymore.
Well, I think in relation to taking this out, taking my decision, which is that, you know, in opposition, it is important just to get on with the job of getting to that election. We're in government now, we've turned the page, so there won't be donations for clothing, there won't be any declarations there. In relation to other things, I think it's a question of exercising judgment. a culture sector, for example, will be invited to events. Quite often, the support of a politician being somewhere is important for a particular event or sport. But it's a question of judgment, and it's got to be clear, it's got to be declared, and you, of course, have got to have the opportunity to then ask questions of us about it, and quite right too.
You're talking to us at the end of an incredibly long day. You have given your speech at the party conference. As you finish this interview, you will head to an airport to fly to New York to go to the United Nations. On your mind, on the mind of everybody there, will be a simple and stark question. Do you fear, do you sense that we're on the brink of all-out war?
I'm deeply concerned. I have myself put in the words as well. We are potentially to come back. That's why, with our allies, what we're doing here is de-escalate. Innocent side to de-escalate. And that will be amongst the discussions right now. New York, take care of New York to the meeting immediately after this interview, but that will be part of our lives. De-escalate, ceasefire, and
Israel says terrorists firing rockets at the border, which means that tens of thousands of people have to leave their homes. This is significant. Do you actually back Israel? Do you support Israel? As she says, we have no choice but to try to get other people safely back into their homes.
I have always supported Israel's right to safety, and that has been absolutely clear and consistent in everything I've ever said. But the problem right now is unfortunately that's not going to de-escalate. It doesn't mean we walk away from the conflict. It doesn't mean that we don't recognise the threat that Israel is under, which is very real. I understand that completely. And I do support Israel's right to self-defense. But this escalation is getting to a point where the right thing now to do is to de-escalate, have a ceasefire, and ensure we can progress in a different way.
Finally, what do you say to the thousands in your party, some protesting outside these party companies? You say, when will we have the moral courage to stand up to Israel? Simply to say, enough. Too many thousands of people have died. When it should be clear whose side it's on, and it should be Israel's.
De-escalation and for what I genuinely is the only way through this in a lasting way, which is a two-state solution, not in first instance, alongside a safe and secure Israel. We don't have either of those right now. But thank you for talking to the debate.
Prime Minister is now ignoring, considering and discussing the prospect of allowed war. Considering and discussing our policy detail in that meeting a little bit later.
Well, thank you very much. The four family influx in London. Programme League Cup ties last night came through their games unscathed, just about. Leicester City were taken to penalties by Luton Sam Wilson, Leicester's goalkeeper Daniel saving all three Wilson penalties as a single. Chelsea beat League Two side Barry 5-0, Aston Villa defeated Wycombe Wanderers 2-1, and Manchester City beat Tottenham 2-1. But we asked about the potential long-term injury to midfielder Rodri. City manager Pep Guardiola described him as irreplaceable. Said he would be out for a long, long time as he requires surgery. Cricket and England men beat Australia by 46 runs. Climbed up with a stern method to keep themselves in the five-match one-day international series. Australia now lead 2-1. England captain Harry Brooks hit his first ODI century to help them win the rain-affected match. It is also England against Australia in netball returning this morning. It is 1-1 in that three-test series after England had a dramatic 61 points to 59 win against the world champions in Sydney at the weekend. That was the first time England had defeated Australia since the Commonwealth Games final in 2018. I've been speaking to the England coach Jess Thirlby about what it means to them to beat the world champions.
It's hugely significant because not just, as you say, it's been 6
The
years
world
since it's been
champion.
done. It's the third time only that we've beaten Australia in their backyard. The significance, obviously, of the longer term of
Are you beating the world champion?
playing that very venue in what we hope to be a World Cup final where we strive to win our first World Cup gold. But also just in terms of the style by which we went about that
Do you think you will beat the world champion, Gogo?
The Aussie Diamonds is something that we haven't yet been able to do, but to do it here, for this group to have got such a significant historical win so early in this cycle towards the World Cup, it is a really positive sign.
When you go to New Zealand after today's match, they are the world number 2 side. What do you want to gain from these matches over the next few days, considering where you are? You mentioned the World Cup cycle, and there's also a Commonwealth Games cycle as well.
We had such positive news regarding the Commonwealth Games, which held some special moments for the team, not least that 2018 gold. So these are critical parts of the journey. They're really significant
Do
matches.
you
We never
think
shy
you
away
can
from
beat the
travelling
world
over here and
champion?
hitting out against world number 1 and 2 very early in our
Gogo?
season. We have every intention to not only broaden the experience of the group, but come out here to try and beat both teams on their home soil. So it was pleasing to do that in Test 2, but obviously we're part of a 3-match series here, first and foremost against Australia, and we're very much here to try and overcome that and be the first ever team actually England team to win a series over here against them.
Those games, those Commonwealth Games, may not have happened without
Do you think you will beat the world
There
champion?
is some cynicism about the Commonwealth Games. What is the value of it for you as the England netball team?
Oh, it's hugely valuable to us and hugely valuable to netball as a sport. We're not an Olympic sport, so it's one of equal to our World Cup. It's another stage, huge stage for us to be visible and to really kind of drive not just the high level game, global game, but also the participation across the world. And we're fortunate that those Commonwealth nations for whom we compete against the hardest, the Australians, New Zealands, Jamaicans are all still very much in that Commonwealth Games competition. So for us, it's equal to really a World Cup, and I think it's so important for us as a non-Olympic sport to still be able to have that spotlight on us. Yeah, hopefully long may it continue and we'll hit the Glasgow statue.
More immediately. Good luck this morning. Thank you. And it was won 9 medals, 3 gold yesterday at the Paris World Championships in Zurich.
Thank you very much indeed, Carly. The government is encouraging pensions to claim pension credit in order to remain eligible for fuel payments. Will people sign up, and might that end up costing the Exchequer more than it saves? The Office for National Statistics has downgraded the status of a new statistic aiming to measure how many people turn gender. We asked what went wrong. Cancer appears to be on the rise in the under 50s. Why? And how worried should we be? Most importantly, it takes a hen and a half, a day and a half to lay an egg and a half. How many eggs do half dozen hens lay in half dozen days? That's more or less the need Tim Harford on BBC Sounds Radio 4 in half an hour.
Half an hour.
We've had that. A little bit of weather. Today we will see heavy rain moving to southern England from Scotland today. Showers are likely across far northern Scotland. Elsewhere, very cloudy with orange showers.
You're listening to today. All from the West African correspondents in Liverpool and 24 minutes to 9 at Truckers on the news from East Turner.
Sir Keir Starmer has told this programme that the Middle East could be on the brink of an all-out war, and he's warning British nationals in Lebanon to leave immediately. The Prime Minister reiterated the need for de-escalation in the conflict between Israel and Lebanon. Hundreds of British troops are being sent to nearby Cyprus as part
Oh,
of the
don't be all
evacuation plans. Sirens have been heard in Tel Aviv and central Israel. The Israeli military said it had intercepted a missile that was fired from Lebanon. It was also warned that it would be carrying out more airstrikes on Hezbollah positions in Lebanon. The Prime Minister has signalled plans for a major shake-up of the welfare system, saying all benefit claimants should be expected to look for work. Speaking to Today, he said the government and businesses should support people to re-enter the workplace, but that ministers wanted to tackle those abusing the benefit system. Senior sources have told the BBC that the government's message that the NHS in England is broken could have an impact on staff morale and result in lasting damage to patient confidence. The Department of Health said it was being honest about the challenges facing the health service. Lisa, thanks
水
very
晶有冇
much.
攞啊？
Well, I suppose in some ways
你攞翻
it's linked
reading
because
record 啊？
we're going to talk now about some figures
Ah,
at
Gogo.
23 minutes to 9 around obesity. England has begun to turn
Gogo,
the
攞 reading
tide
record
on
啊？
rising obesity
書同埋
for the
reading
first
record，
time in 2
OK？
decades. That's how you can read these new NHS figures. The number of children who are overweight has fallen to the lowest level since 2000, while obesity rate in adults has remained stable for the past 5 years. Catherine Jenner, who's the director of the Obesity Health Alliance, is on the line. Good morning.
Good morning.
I mean, is it something to mark as something positive? Because the rates are still also extremely troubling.
They are. It's certainly been a very long time since we've had some reason to be optimistic here, and I would say that I'm cautiously optimistic because the figures are not really telling us all of the stories. Every average figures show that some of the obesity levels have come down, but it certainly seems that they are still very high, and also particularly high in areas with more deprivation as well. And if we really want to see a positive change, we need to start narrowing that gap.
And what can we attribute to the stabilisation or the slight fall?
There have been a number of activities that have been trying to get off the ground over the last few years. So we've seen things like soft drinks obesity levy, which has been very effective in reducing sugar in soft drinks and has had a knock-on impact on obesity levels in older girls and also on mental health as well. And also things like taking junk food away from the checkout. These are all factors trying to change the structural drivers of health that mean that people are seeing more healthy food, and those are the more default options as well. But really it's been quite a small and piecemeal approach, which is why perhaps it's starting to level and not seeing the big changes that we could see.
So you would attribute it to that rather than people, I don't know, educating themselves about ultra-processed food and making some of those changes. You would look at those what sometimes people are called nudge moments.
Those kinds of approaches tend to work more on those that have got money, agency, time to be able to then go ahead and make different choices. I would say things that affect the whole population are things that make it easier for them in the first place. So I imagine coming out of COVID, there will have been a renewed interest in health, and that may have had an impact. But it's difficult to tell that from the data, and it's not quite what it's telling me.
And what should we take about the amount of children? I mean, still 27% of children is choosing being found to be overweight or obese. It's down, but it's still a high number.
It's incredibly high. 30 years ago, half of us were living with overweight or obesity, and now it's going up to 2/3 of the population across the population, and that's still far too high. So clearly a lot more measures need to be taken, and they require political will to do that. And that's something of course we haven't had in the last few years. And it's very heartening to hear the Prime Minister talking about the need for prevention and also getting people back to work, because people with overweight and obesity are significantly more likely to be taking time off work. So, as I say, it's a matter of political will. We have the right evidence and policies. We just need to get them implemented.
And what evidence do you have about the non-working children? You know, what's happening there? What's happening?
There isn't such great treatment in there for children as well. So what we need to do is to understand that children are bombarded by advertising and unhealthy food from the moment they wake up, and that's particularly prevalent in areas of deprivation where they're more likely to have higher density of hot food takeaways, more alcohol advertising. We've had a brilliant announcement today from the mayors, the Metro mayors led by Jamie Oliver, saying that they're going to restrict outdoor advertising as a way to try and protect children as they go to and from school, which is brilliant. We need that to be rolled out across the country. We need to make sure when they're going into shops that they're able to pick up healthy food, or their parents are able to do that for them, and when they go into school they're having a really good nutritionally balanced meal as well.
Just to final thought on this, we being a prescription for some 6 8 weeks, and that will drive down numbers.
Clearly that's such a great solution for some people, and you have to think about obesity when you have it as being a chronic relapsing condition, not something that someone's chosen. So having a drug available and bariatric surgery as well that can help, that is brilliant. It's very expensive, it's not available to everybody, and you have to meet a number of criteria to be able to have the drug. And also it just suppresses your appetite while you have it. So as soon as you stop taking it, you're just really like to go back to normal, unless all of those structural environmental changes happen. So we need to look at both treatment and prevention to really get things moving.
Yeah, and you know, we're only also starting to learn some of the side effects. People have been speaking out how it's been for them, beyond what have been positive effects for some. Catherine Jenner, fascinating, a lot more to discuss, Director of the Obesity Health Alliance. Thank you.
18 minutes to 9 now. There's been a sharp rise in the problematic use of social media by teenagers. That's the finding of a major study by the World Health Organization. We're joined by one of the co-authors of the the report. Dr. Joe Inchley is a reader in adolescent health at the University of Glasgow in the School of Health and Wellbeing. Morning to you.
Good morning.
I'm very struck by this finding that more than 1 in 5 girls show what your report describes as addictive-like behaviour when it comes to social media. Addictive, really?
So what we're measuring is what we're calling problematic social media use. So it is based on addictive-like symptoms, but we're not measuring addiction per se. It's important to clarify that. So the sort of questions we ask are things like, are you always thinking about social media when you're not on it? Do you find it hard to come off social media? Do you neglect other activities in your lives because of the amount of time you're spending on social media? And do you find yourself maybe lying about the amount of time to family and friends and so on? So it's really this impact that seeps into other areas of their lives and has a negative effect on, for example, activities outside the home and also their relationships in their life.
The other thing that comes out of the report is that the numbers displaying that attitude to social media has increased and is higher here than in many other countries in the world.
Yeah, so the study includes 44 countries, and we are seeing a sort of increase across the board in problematic social media use, particularly amongst girls. But in the UK and England and Scotland in particular, we've seen a more marked increase over the last 4 years. So now over 1 in 5 13-year-old girls in Scotland and England report these problematic social media use behaviours.
Why do you think this is getting worse and getting worse here?
I mean, there's lots of factors will play into this. I mean, obviously we're comparing sort of pre and post-COVID, and we know that digital technology became really important for young people in the pandemic and lockdown as a form of kind of keeping in contact with their friends. We know that early adolescence, there's so many kind of biological, social, emotional changes taking place. So for 13-year-olds, that's a kind of critical time for connecting with friends, sort of shifting allegiance from family to friends and making sense of your own social identity, and lots of that is done now online. I don't think we really know why we're seeing much higher increases in the UK compared to other countries. There may be sort of more cultural, social cultural factors driving that difference.
Dr. George at the University of Glasgow. Dr. George.
It is important to starting by our adolescent as I feel all have something in common. And we this year, 70th, 60th anniversary is considered by its founders to be last year, 70th. However, one of the most famous way of Mini Moon, and a Mini Moon on its way off happened with Moon, ceased production more than 40 years ago. It was feared that it was a sound that was going to disappear into history. But the passion of its fans has led to the revival in the 60s and 70s. Our media and articles within 70s has been to use the music.
This is the Rubicon song, led by Little Baby.
Well, the Americans say no. The Dutch say no. So we didn't really know how when Constituents first arrived, so we called them words. Well,
I don't understand why we need to introduce two bits. How many synthesizers have you got?
too many.
I can't so much, but I want to hear.
Yeah, so it's a bit fancy. This is an original. It's immediately 70s, this is.
Well, it is the future. It sounds like the future of the 70s. But there might be the other it's more words than also 52 years old.
Yeah.
I hate to say it, but it's a bit fantastic. It just needs a bit of feel feelings.
The synthesizer, plenty of fun.
There's one later model, a little green cloud keyboard that has the classic rich raw sound. looks like a cosmic jump. It's cake face. Just always symptoms for Passion of Will and his fellow Moogists has prevailed. The classic Model D is back in production.
And I think
These instruments
are going to go on from generation to generation. I mean, after all, 400 years ago, violins were perfected. We still use those.
are you suggesting your Moog is like a Stradivarius?
I think I am. Already?
And with new Moogs, there are new converts.
I'm Hazel Mills. And McElroy.
You and Hazel, you're slightly younger than the average age of the rest of the ensemble. I don't want to be rude in some way here. Honest.
Inside I'm very old actually. They are beautiful. So it's got personality, it's got
So,
soul, yeah.
on this 60th anniversary of the first Moog
We do a bit of Vangelis, a bit of Doctor Who, and of course, a bit of
Wendy Carlos.
she is the reason this group exists.
In the world of Moog, she is the prophet.
There's no magic button on trumpet or violin or drums. You have to build every sound.
She was the composer who 60 years ago first approached Robert Moog with ideas that helped lead to the first Moog.
We can make it sound very dull, quite pure, or very bright.
Her switched on Bach. Clockwork Orange soundtrack brought the sound of the Moog to the masses.
John Bach changed everything.
And Clockwork Orange still gives me chills.
Fantastic, yeah.
Do you know what Wendy makes of all this?
Absolutely no idea. Wendy is basically radio silent, and it's obviously retreating into her glory without having to muddy the waters.
So on this 60th anniversary, we have new Moogs, a celebration of the mysterious genius of Wendy Carlos.
Oh, fabulous. Absolutely fabulous. To listen to that, I mean, Paul Goldfrapp keep us going with some of those soundtracks. Brilliant to learn about that, and a great word too. But at 10 to 9, let's turn our attention to more creativity or lack thereof. What is next for the Turner Prize, now in its 40th year? Described in the Times today by some art experts as the rotting corpse of the art world. A corpse once won it, don't forget, when Damien Hirst was garnered in 95 for his shark suspended in formaldehyde. After a period of uncertainty during which there wasn't a definitive winner in 2019, that was after nominees opted to share the prize and then the cancellation of it during the pandemic. It's back again, but should it be, and for how long? Waldemar Danishak, the art critic for the Sunday Times, is on the line. Good morning.
Good morning, Emma.
It's really damning what some people have been saying about this year. I mean, I see people don't pull their punches in your line of work.